Huge thank you to Rachel N. and Kazamis for being our very first channel members. Stay tuned later in the video for an important update about channel memberships. Last month, Mr. Who's the Boss issued a challenge to tech YouTubers. Get in the best shape of our lives in 3 months.
31st of August, and on that day I will post a follow-up video where I will have to show you how much of a transformation I've managed to make.
But I want to flip this over to you now. If there's any change that you've been wanting to make in your life, it could be diet, sleep, work, productivity, why don't we do it together?
And he shared some pictures that have distressing similarities to my own body shape. So, fine, Mr. Who's the Boss, I'm game. And a big part of my active lifestyle is centered around one place, my desk. I sit down to write, I sit down to edit, I sit down to game, and I sit down to watch YouTube videos. I knew that the first place to start would be getting a standing desk, but those are pretty expensive, and as we all know, I'm a cheap bastard. So how bad could the cheapest standing desk I can find actually be? I know that standing desks aren't a perfect solution. For one, most of the people I know who use a standing desk basically always leave it in the sitting position because it's just not convenient to change modes in the middle of your workday. That's why I'm not replacing my desk, I'm getting a second one. Another element of my lifestyle that I want to change is to separate the space where I relax and the space where I work. I want to treat YouTube like it's my job, but that means I'm working at home all the time. Hopefully by having one desk with my Steam Deck where I can relax and play games while sitting, I can treat my standing desk as more of a workplace and not get distracted as easily. Enter the Amazon Basics Height Adjustable Gaming Desk. One thing stood out to me right away. This is a turn crank standing desk. For those of you who don't remember, this actually used to be a very trendy style in the early 2000s, before motorized standing desks became the industry standard. You can imagine why they fell out of style. If it's inconvenient for most people to push a button on their standing desk, imagine how inconvenient it must be to have to operate a Ford Model T just to raise your desk up. Still, I mostly plan on leaving this desk in standing mode, and it's fairly highly reviewed, so I took the plunge. It's priced at $250, but the red colorway goes on sale for up to half that regularly due to being a little too gamery for a lot of people. I bought it for just 130 bucks. Side note, I've never been more happy to be a Prime customer because the box this thing ships in is huge and very heavy. I don't want to know what shipping this thing costs. Anyway, after just a week, my new desk was here. I knew I'd have to assemble it myself, and fortunately Amazon includes both a helpful manual as well as video instructions hosted by this absolute gamer. Construction was surprisingly straightforward. I grew up helping my mom build those ultra-cheap black bookcases all the time, and this was significantly easier than that. In the box, you'll find a little Allen key that will be the only tool required for the entire process. I actually had everything out of the box and fully assembled in under 30 minutes, which was crazy. All of the parts are sturdy, and the panels making up the actual desk are incredibly stiff. I would honestly trust this desk to hold my weight. There's also a solid metal bar that runs along the base of the desk, which serves two purposes. It adds structure to the panel, and it covers the metal bar used for the desk raising mechanism. Speaking of which, let's talk about that. Raising and lowering this desk is almost effortless, even if it takes a good long time to move it any meaningful distance. It's like pedaling a bike in a really low gear. You're barely working, so you're barely moving. Still, like I said, I plan on keeping this desk in standing mode, basically all the time, so it's not that big a deal. I've had zero concerns about this mechanism failing, and the winch on the side of the desk can be easily removed if you don't want to risk bumping it. It does feel pretty cheap, so I would recommend storing it until you need to use it. The other key feature of this desk is the raised monitor shelf in the back, and this is actually a killer feature for a desk like this. For one, it helps put the monitor at a great height for your eyes while letting you place your keyboard much lower, which is a very comfortable setup for typing out scripts. Second, it's actually really wide. The instructional video shows this gamer with an ultra-wide monitor on her desk, and while it's not quite the right size for my Samsung monitor, enough of the stand is on the platform that I'm comfortable using it. However, another thoughtful bit of design is that the shelf mounts to the underside of the desk, so if you decide not to use it, there won't be any holes in the top of your desk. It also means you can put larger items or computers underneath the shelf without any clearance issues, unlike a normal monitor stand. It's not the most stable platform, however, and while writing, I did notice the monitor would wobble a little bit. It's not the most distracting thing in the world, but if you plan on doing anything more intense, like playing a MIDI keyboard on this desk, you might want to not use the shelf. Speaking of which, let's talk about actually using this desk. But before that, a quick word about channel memberships. Starting today, all channel members will have access to ad-free versions of all of my videos. I don't know why this isn't a feature on YouTube already, but for $1 per month, every episode of Skipty will be available in the Memberships tab with no ads. Just look for the videos with a pink and gold border. Now, back to the desk. I plan on using it for writing and editing, as well as watching videos while I'm on my elliptical. And, okay, fellow video editors, I know what you're about to say. Yes, I know these speakers should be on stands raised up to my ear level. I know. I actually do have speaker stands that go high enough, but the unfortunate reality is that I have cats. That's just not a game I'm gonna play. I'm okay with having my speakers be too low if it means I don't have to worry about waking up to them being broken one day. I actually had to make a few other purchases to get this solution to be exactly right for my use case. The biggest one was my ergonomics. I don't know who out there needs to hear this, but your gaming keyboard sucks for writing. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. There's a reason Mac users don't buy replacement keyboards, and it's not because they're stupid. It's because short throw key switches are far less fatiguing over long periods of time. So, after some careful research, I decided on Logitech's MX Mini for writing. And if I'm buying a new keyboard, I might as well buy a better mouse as well. I've been in love with Logitech's MX Master Series since high school, but I've never had the money to buy one for myself. Plus, they aren't particularly good for gaming, since they're so heavy. However, they have a much more ergonomic shape for long periods of use because they position your hand slightly upwards, and they have lots of assignable macro buttons that will be very useful for video editing. I actually found this mismatched MX set new in box at my favorite pawn shop for just $120 total, but Best Buy also has a bundle deal for them at just $180 if you'd like a warranty and the ability to return them. Writing on the desk is a lot more comfortable than I thought. I was nervous that it being such a raised platform, I would have to contend with it wiggling and shaking under me all the time, but that just doesn't happen. It's as solid as a kitchen counter, which is helped a lot by the sturdy metal feet. Also, the surface of the desk is almost the same finish as a hard-topped mouse mat, so I found using my mouse without anything under it to be the most comfortable solution. However, the surface does show hand and palm oils really easily, so if that bothers you, then you may want to invest in a desk mat anyway. Writing did show me one blind spot that I missed, however, which was my feet. It's funny, but I forgot how much standing you have to do on a standing desk. I knew there were anti-fatigue mats you can buy, but those cost anywhere from $30 to $60 for a small one. I was tempted by these kitchen mats, which seemed to be made of the same kind of material, but the rubber tops sounded like they'd get really annoying on my bare feet. Instead, I bought one of these soft bath mats for $10. The surface is incredibly comfortable on my feet, and it provides just enough padding for my heels not to get worn out by the hard linoleum. There is a slightly less conventional option, however, which would be to just buy really comfortable shoes. Honestly, they'll be padded with a lot of the same materials in an anti-fatigue mat, and you don't have to worry about keeping them clean. Plus, for heavier individuals, you may wind up sinking into anti-fatigue mats too much, and it can be more uncomfortable, so it's really up to personal preferences. And of course, shoes are useful outside of your standing desk anyway. Back to the desk, however. The desk's top also has a lot of room. Something I've been struggling with using all of my desks has been effectively using all of the space on them. With the Amazon Basics desk, the subtle but appreciated curve on the front of the desk lets me get a little closer to my monitor and still leaves me enough room to rest my forearms on the surface of the desktop. All the while, it's not so deep that it takes up an uncomfortable amount of floor space. I had a very easy time finding a spot for this desk in my kitchen, and moving it isn't very difficult because of the foam pads included on the bottom of the feet. Like I said at the beginning of this video, the biggest reason for me to get a standing desk was to provide myself with a separate space for work and for play. As a productivity station, this standing desk is fantastic. It has a great surface finish for the grippy feet on keyboards, as well as easily sliding a mouse around. The monitor shelf is large enough to accommodate most small to medium-sized monitors, and the space underneath the shelf is large enough for me to store anything I might need access to, like headphones or a drawing tablet. The hand crank lifting mechanism is easy to use, if a little time-consuming, and the construction of the desk is solid enough to use as a work surface and even a drawing area if you wanted. Longtime viewers know that I love making these budget-oriented videos, and this is probably the first one that I actually plan on daily driving. Let me know in the comments what other budget solutions you'd like to see, and I'll see you next time. Trying to get this on video. This is the comfiest I have ever seen Pep in history. Look how comfy.